Hi, my name is Majid Qasmi, and I'm the founder of SOMA MATER. Today with us is Osama Al-Muqbel, the CTO of Seafood Souq. Osama, thank you for being here. Would you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Thank you very much, Sheikh Majid. Very good morning. And I'm really looking forward to discuss all seafood and technology. So I am Osama Al-Muqbel. I'm the Chief Technology Officer at Seafood Souq. My background started with tech. Even when I was young, I was just playing with computers and programming, doing all kinds of stuff with technology. And then after that, I specialized in electronics engineering and computer systems, did my master's in computer engineering and digital innovation, where I started my career working at a consultancy firm. To be honest, I didn't like it.
Yeah.
And I felt like a number. There's no real impact that I'm doing. And then the opportunity came to join Seafood Souq at its inception. So I started at ground zero with Seafood Souq. That's where we started Seafood Souq, which is a technology company that aims to digitize the seafood industry by solving its key challenges. And there's a lot of challenges that we'll be discussing in this episode. One of the main things I think we've that led me to Seafood Souq is we're starting from zero. We know that the industry is lacking technological advancements and there's a lot of inefficiencies within the industry. And that's why when we started Seafood Souq, we started by pretty much just buying fish to see how the supply chain works. We started importing products from outside of the country. We visited fish markets in the country. We spoke with fishermen, and we've seen how the process works. And we've discovered that there is a huge gap, not just in this region and in the UAE, but globally, in how seafood is being transacted and how it's being transferred. At the end of the day, seafood is a commodity. You go to the supermarket or you go to the fish market and you just buy seafood. It's similar to what we have with chicken and beef. Like I always think of it like when I speak to my kids in the family, they think that, seafood or meat or poultry is coming from the supermarket. It's similar way to your kid thinking that, okay, daddy, you get cash from the cash machine. So it's really challenging that, the provenance and the visibility over how our food on our plate is coming to our plate is really not there. There is a huge amount of people that dedicate their time and work and efforts to produce what we're eating on our table. And none of that is being seen. And that's why we've built different technological products. We have three main products that we're operating here in the UAE, in the region, and globally. The first one is SFS Fisheries, which starts at the first step of the supply chain. That's where the production happens. The fishermen catch the fish. Then we have SFS Trace, our end-to-end interoperable solution that collects data from the first step of the supply chain until the end. So it integrates and passes on data from the fishing side to the landing, to the first transport, to the storage, to the processing, maybe to the air flight that it took, until it reaches to the end consumer. And the last product that we have that sits at the end of the supply chain, which is SFS Audit, that looks at the supply chain backwards. So the second product, SFS Trace, looks over the whole supply chain, but Audit looks backwards into the whole supply chain. That's in general what we do at Seafood Souq. It's been a very exciting journey since the start. We started Seafood Souq around 7 years ago, and we've seen a lot in the industry. We've learned a lot, and there is a lot of opportunities to, innovate and build for the seafood industry.
So thank you, Osama. That's an awesome overview, and it's great to hear somebody leave consulting and join the food system.
Exactly.
We're big fans of people who find themselves in that space, and I know the company intimately. So if I can go back to maybe the digitization of the seafood industry, What were you essentially looking at before you guys arrived? Maybe you can give us a small picture of what the seafood industry looks like, maybe from when somebody catches fish or has fish on a fish farm, and then it lands on somebody's plate. I think that's an important journey to share.
Definitely. So usually seafood starts from either the sea, so that's wild caught seafood, or a farmed fish.
Okay.
Obviously, there's a lot of debates on farmed fish, whether it's sustainable or not. But in general, what happens is once the fish is being caught, either from a farm or from the sea, there is different critical tracking events that happens throughout the supply chain until it reaches your plate.
So when you say critical tracking events, right? It sounds like a technical term in the industry. Is this common practice everywhere?
It's not common practice, unfortunately. Okay. So we use a standard called the Global Dialogue for Seafood Traceability, the GDST standard, which was an initiative that was done by FAO and the UN to basically put a common language for the supply chain of seafood.
Right.
So when we communicate any data, we're speaking the same language.
Super.
So, for example, grouper here in this region is called hamor. In another region is called something else. In English, it's grouper. So if we're buying fish from another country, buying grouper from another country, how do we communicate the same information? And that goes across the whole spectrum of the different steps within the supply chain. So, for example, fishing. The fishing is a critical tracking event, which starts at the first step at the supply chain. Within fishing, we have key data elements, which are the defined standard for what are we collecting at fishing. So for example, we're collecting which port we started our trip from, what location we stopped and we started fishing, what fish we have caught, what gear we use to catch the fish. Is it a pond line or is it a gargour or is it a net? And then that's a critical tracking event and it's key data elements that goes with it. Then after you've finished fishing, you stopped for landing the fish. So there are also critical data that we need to collect at landing. Time of landing, at what port you landed your fish. And this drags on the whole supply chain. First transport, which the transport company transported the fish, at what time, the refrigerating conditions, until it reaches to the end consumer. So the journey of a fish starts from fishing, landing, processing, and any transport in between. And then if there is any transport or if it goes to a third party that buys it and then they resell it, there's a lot of handshakes that happen in
essentially
in
moving the fish from one entity or hand to another entity.
The different ownership and the custody of the fish changes along the supply chain, and keeping track of that change and these handshakes that happen in the supply chain is super important to provide provenance over the seafood industry.
Right. Yeah. So this is where I wanted to go, and I think what surprised me the first time I heard what Seafood Souq was doing was the fact that there's a lot of seafood industry that is not modernized. And sort of traditional fishermen that are providing high quality fish to the market. And that a lot of people in their minds see very large fishing vessels, trolling or other techniques that create mass captures or mass catches that go to landing. And then the traditional line fishing, net fishing, or gargour as a traditional methodology used here. And there are many more. But when I heard about that and learned about what Seafood Souq was doing, I want to ask why. So why is it important that this provenance, as you mentioned, is tracked? Why trace all of this?
So just a quick fact on the seafood industry. Seafood as a category, edible seafood, based on FAO, we have around 6,500 plus species that we're tracking, compared to the other food items or protein items that we consume as humans. The other protein items which are land-based, they're like around 30 species. So the vast and the huge amount of species that the ocean is giving us is way much bigger. And this creates a problem where there's a lot of mislabeling that could happen intentionally or not intentionally.
Right.
1 in every 5 fish is mislabeled.
What?
Literally. 1 in every 5 fish is mislabeled.
Wow, that's higher than I thought.
And literally, like you go to the fish market and you think it's a hamur. It looks like a hamur, but it's a man.
And so we're talking about actual fish in their full form. These are not fillets.
No. I even like fish in their full form and in fillets. Like,
sure.
Intentional and non-intentional.
Yeah.
So some bad actors do. White fish is white fish at the end of the day.
Right.
How would you know the species of the fish as an end consumer?
So that white fish, that term I've heard used 100 times. That's like generic. That's like just saying fish.
Just saying fish, literally.
Yeah.
And you have 6,500 species.
Wow.
Which one is it?
So, okay. So here we're talking about a challenge in the food, in the seafood industry. That is, you're getting bad actors or non-bad actors, but just out of mistakes. You're getting a mislabeling.
Mislabeling, yeah.
And so one out of every 5 fish you're possibly eating says
something. It's something else.
Something else. Interesting.
And like one other thing as well is even like with the amount of seafood that we catch, and this feeds into protecting our ocean and protecting the seafood stock for next generations.
Mm-hmm.
Around 35% of what we catch is going to waste.
Wow.
Whether from the vessel itself or from the supply chain, or just there is no demand for the fish and fishermen are catching more and more. So these numbers do give us the chance to solve a major problem. And I think solving this problem is by creating solutions.
Mm-hmm.
And to be honest, like I don't believe that technology is going to solve the whole problem.
Right.
Technology is there to assist in solving the problem. But what we see here is good actors are not being, they don't get the praise for being good actors.
Right. That's true.
While bad actors are just playing along with the game and doing bad things for the ocean and for the industry. And that's why for us we've seen that the most pressing part is we need to know where our products are coming from.
Yeah.
And you cannot really do that by just claiming that it's coming from this place, or this is a Norwegian salmon, or this is a Scottish salmon.
Right. Yeah.
What's the proof that it's Norwegian salmon?
Yeah.
Is it coming from a reputable farm, or is it coming from a farm that's doing illegal stuff?
Mm-hmm.
Same thing with wild. Do we know if this fish that we're eating is coming from a legal vessel or an illegal vessel? Was there child labor on that vessel?
Oh, wow.
It really goes deep, and not just from a transparency point of view, but also ethically.
Yeah.
And from a socioeconomic point of view.
Mm-hmm.
We've seen a lot that fish, for example, and we had this test because, as I told you, we started trading fish, and we've spoken with fishermen in a nearby country where we got the fish for an X price.
Yeah.
And then we've compared it, the same fish from the same source.
Oh, wow.
In the UAE.
Yeah.
There was an increase of 107%.
What?
In terms of price.
Wow.
Which is crazy.
That's there. So there's some real foul play in that space. And what I'm hearing is you're trying to ensure that those that are playing within the rules get recognized for that, and those that are breaking the rules and really sort of misleading customers can be weeded out. And I think that's so important when you're trying to protect food sovereignty, food security, as well as your own market, right? As well as the engagement between markets. A lot of people, when they hear food security, they think, oh, we have to generate all our food. And that's not the case. A global food system relies on trade. There are certain markets, certain areas that have better, whether it's aquaculture or fisheries that you can source from, well, those go globally, right? I think it's super, super cool what you do. And I think it's super cool what you guys do. And I want to know how you do it.
Definitely.
So tell us a little bit more about what it is that Seafood Souq is doing in the three, Trace, Audit, and Fisheries.
Definitely.
How they serve maybe the customer, the end user, and how they work.
Definitely. I think with SFS Fisheries, I will start with SFS Fisheries because it started the supply chain. SFS Fisheries is mainly, we work with fisheries that own multiple vessels to provide traceability from the time the fishing is happening. There is a lot of regulation as well for some regulated species, specifically tuna. And it's regulated by the countries that catch tuna and by the organizations that manages the body of water. So, for example, you have the Indian Ocean Tuna Commission, the Atlantic Ocean Tuna Commissions. These guys have also rules on the governments to collect data from fishermen.
Right.
What we've done, and this is an example of our work, is we've implemented our SFS Fisheries technology in South Africa, which is one of the biggest exporters of tuna. And we're covering now around 70% of tuna pollen line is being traceable through our technology.
Oh, wow.
How we do that is we create digital logbooks. So before we implemented the digital logbook, the fishermen in South Africa, they had to take with them an A3 log sheet, literally very manual. Whenever they go catch a fish, they have to log all the details: the location, what type of fish I've caught, the weight, approximate weight, obviously, it's on a vessel, the number of fish that I caught, and it's very cumbersome. It's not really doing anything. After that, once they land the fish, they will take this paper sheet, put it in the office, and someone from the office will drive all the way to the ministry, stand in line, and submit these sheets to be able to get a certificate. What we've done is, and obviously the whole log sheet is just put in the archive. There is no digital record of it. You'll go to the government and it'll take time until they
find them and pull them out,
to be able to get you the statistics out of it. So what we've done is we've digitized the whole process. We have a mobile application for the fishermen, very simple, works online and offline. They go on it, they log every single activity that they do on their vessels as per the regulation and more. At the end of the trip, they do the offload, they record what they've offloaded, and they get the catch statistics form, which is the governmental form that they need to submit, printed for them with no handwritings, just all computerized, very clear, and it gets logged in the database. So the fisher will also know, okay, how much I caught, where did I catch it? So they have more data and more provenance over their operations. We're also working on different projects as well into integrating that with the governmental systems to be able to offer a very seamless experience end to end. We're doing that in South Africa, in Seychelles, and we're in talks now in the GCC region.
Oh, amazing!
Yeah.
So there's a thing before we hit Trace and Audit.
Yes.
You talk about data. You said data maybe 2-3 times.
Yeah.
With the data that you guys are collecting, how much are you learning about the industry, and possibly how could that data be used for policy, maybe for improving the sector as a whole?
So the point of data that we're collecting is we're collecting it, and we've been seeing a lot of value in the data that we're collecting. So we were able to help the fisheries that we work with to understand the basically the body of waters that they can fish in. So based on historical data, we were able to see that with patterns that there is certain area that usually at a certain time of the year, fish will be in that ground. Also, we've been looking into bycatch. We've been looking into incidental captures that happens. That gives us as well a way to either help mitigate by just by the fishermen reporting that they've caught something by mistake. Helps the fishery as well to take measures in how they can reduce the amount of bycatch or incidental catch. Sometimes by mistake they'll catch something that they shouldn't be catching.
Yeah. When you talk about a body of water, and I know this from my time at the Environment Agency, ensuring we have sustainable fisheries and sustainable sources, this is the critical data to be collecting.
Definitely.
Right?
At the end of the day, what we each fishery, especially for regulated species, they have a quota.
Right.
And the quota is there to protect
the body of water
and the resources.
There's an interesting thing where previously, I know the way you would do any sort of landing assessment or body of water assessment, you'd take a couple boats and you would take a sample size.
Yeah.
Now you're telling me every boat in a digital system is tracking their landings and their catch, and you can have all of this data aggregated.
Definitely.
That's very powerful for policymakers. That's very powerful to be able to see trends change. And like you said, you're also giving the feedback to the fishermen themselves so they can adjust their fishing areas and how they manage that resource effectively and sustainably. If that's fisheries, how does it change then with Trace and Audit? What are you guys doing with those products?
So with the information that we're getting from fishery, we're getting a lot of information from the fishery side of things. And one aspect to the information, to the data that we're doing, is we're providing this data to the fishery. So when they're selling that fish, they're able to have a report with it, with a scannable QR code, where it will tell the buyer of the fish, it's most likely a business, where the fish was caught.
Wow.
With SFS Trace, which is our end-to-end traceability solution, this product is mainly focused on aggregating data across the supply chain. So the input from fisheries goes into SFS Trace, and then all the actors within the supply chain will get the data and pretty much add on it. So for example, the fishery sold this product to a processor. The processor will receive the product and will receive the data that came with it.
Sure.
So let's take tuna, for example. I'm a processor. I bought a ton of tuna. I know this tuna came from this vessel, from that location at this time. This data gets to the processor. The processor will do processing. For example, they might process it and cut it into loins.
Yeah.
What they do at that step, they will add their data on it.
Sure.
So this 1 ton that I took from this fishery, I've processed it into
loins, fillets, or
whatever. And I processed at this location at this time, blah, blah, blah. Then comes a distributor in a different country that's buying the fish from the processor. They're not buying it from the fishery. They will get the information from the fishery, from the processor, until it reaches to the distribution center. And within the distributor, like, okay, I received these loins or these fillets. I stored them at this location, and they will add this data on it.
Wow. Okay.
And then I sold it to Hotel X or Hotel Y. And this is how we link the whole supply chain. This is a simplified example. There is so many actors within the supply chain that also can be included within collecting and aggregating the data.
What's the value then at the end user?
So for the end user, what they get is full trust on what they're eating. And this is something that we've seen. And an end user could be a consumer like me and you, and an end user could be a business that's buying the fish. We've seen it in through SFS Audit and through SFS Trace that we've helped clients in the hotel and retailer industry understand what they're getting. In many instances, they think, for example, they're getting Japanese scallops, which are premium. You go for like Michelin star restaurants.
Probably paying for it as well.
Paying for it a lot, basically. And once we ran our SFS Trace technology and SFS Audit on this specific product, we've discovered that they're getting Chinese scallops, which are like 25% of the price.
Oh, wow.
The quality might not be bad, but it just...
But somebody is getting that other 75%.
Exactly. And the client is not getting what they ordered.
Exactly, that's true.
And this is where we come as like the importance of traceability and collecting data is we give visibility to whoever at the end of the supply chain where they might not have the visibility to see it.
Mm-hmm. And then how does audit differ from trace?
So SFS Trace is a way of self-serve. Wherever you're within the supply chain, you add your events on it and you pass it on.
Mm-hmm.
SFS Audits looks back at the supply chain.
Super.
So SFS Audit mainly, we created this product for the industry, for the B2B industry, mainly for hotels and retailers that buy huge amounts of seafood.
Sure.
In the UAE, we have around 35 clients in terms of hotels and retailers, and we've onboarded around 80% of the suppliers that supply seafood into these hotels. So SFS Audit works by auditing every single delivery that reaches to the hotel. So let's say you're a hotel, you are ordering salmon, you're ordering lobsters, and you're ordering sea bass and sea bream. And they're all coming from different places.
Right.
And from different suppliers.
Mm-hmm.
What happens is at each delivery, all the documentation from the supplier gets into our system for every single delivery. Our system reads it and collects key data elements. And these key data elements revolve around the fishing information, the country of origin, the transport information of the fish, and all these data that we collect, and we give a score for it, a traceability score. So and there is no 100% traceability score. There's always missing data, but we've seen most optimal scores are around 80-85%, where 85% means we collected a lot of data. So we most likely know where it really came from. Where in some instances we have products that scored 30%, where we only had details from the processor to the client or to the UAE, where we had just like flat information of the product. This data is super important for hotels and retailers, where they can first of all trust what they're buying. So I'm buying something, I know, okay, I'm actually buying it, and it feeds into their ESG and their sustainability work that they have also to report on, specifically with like bigger organizations. They have mandates to basically do ethical procurement and be more responsible in their procurement. And this data helps them out a lot in doing that. So they can see how different suppliers score, how if there's a supplier that have a better score than the other, then they can switch to it.
Sure.
So it gives them visibility over the data that comes with the seafood.
So I was overseeing food safety for a while at the federal level, and I'm assuming that something like audit could really provide a backwards tracking of maybe origin of food poisonings or other quality products. Does it serve that?
It does serve it, because we're collecting also lot numbers. So usually with SFS Trace is mainly the tool for
providing all that data for tracking, but the audit will
allow you to validate the data that we're getting from Trace. But definitely, like for food safety and food security, for food safety specifically, we do track lot numbers, and it really depends on the supplier, because what we're doing with SFS Audit is we're looking back at the supply chain. So we are working with so many suppliers that might not be using SFS Trace. So they're not logging the data in. What we're doing with SFS Audit is we're looking into all the documents, all the proof that proves that the chain of custody of that product from the start to the end.
So, so you can essentially have on audit companies that aren't on Trace.
Yes.
Oh, that's amazing. So
and this is why we wanted to be able to scale it. We know that not every actor
has to be on your Trace platform,
and our Trace platform is interoperable. So even if you're using another traceability software,
amazing,
we can connect with it, and you can communicate the traceability information on it. But I think one of the main challenges that we have in at this time is not many companies are taking the lead in ensuring traceability is being collected, traceability information being collected and transferred to the parties that they're working with. And this is one of the main challenges that we're trying to solve with audit, because we know that the industry is not yet ready to fully digitize. So every single fish that everyone that deals with is being tracked and traced. We created Audit, where it looks back into the supply chain, so we can collect the data retrospectively.
Yeah, amazing. You start bringing up challenges, and it's that time in the show where we start getting into the interesting sort of dilemmas or challenges that exist. And from your perspective, I'd really like to know, I mean, I love what Seafood Souq is doing. Have you got any fundamental challenges that we can sort of open up and discuss? I can't believe that you're without challenges. You've already mentioned
there is a lot of challenges.
So then what do you think is sort of the big underlying challenge to getting not only seafood digitization, but really to sort of elevating seafood supply chain and industry?
I think like the challenges would fall into maybe 3 sections. One of them is economic. And how do we protect the economic value of the fish going back to the fishermen, and how do we basically protect the livelihood of these coastal communities? That's one. The other challenges I think is mainly on the bad actors that are in the ecosystem that operate, and they still operate as well, unfortunately. And the third aspect is policy making as well, and what kind of laws and regulations do we have currently that would solve the issue of protecting the economic value for the fishermen and the bad actors in the industry.
Let's talk about, and we typically sort of discuss amongst ourselves, ensuring that the food source providers, i.e. the farmers, the fishermen, do get their economic value. Do you have an example maybe where you guys have somehow solved that or been able to demonstrate there's a way that you can bring more economic value through your platform?
Definitely. So with SFS Fisheries, we've worked with a fishery that basically with traceability, they were able to access new markets.
Oh, very good.
So they were able to sell into high value markets, into Europe, into America. And also they were able to get an MSC certificate, so a certificate for sustainable fishing practices. They were able to get it because of the traceability and the logbook that they're using. With that, the indirect benefit was being able to access new markets, bigger markets, and being able to export to that. So fishermen earned more. They were able to sell their fish at a higher price because they have an MSC certificate that proves that it's a sustainable fish that's being caught.
It's great that you guys can provide that economic return, and even opening other markets is even better. Most fishermen don't have the time or visibility to get into other markets. Exactly. So that's incredible. But with all those efforts, the bad actors, what do you believe is missing? I mean, what I understand from Seafood Souq's services, you can essentially hold out or push away those bad actors, and you create a trusted list of providers. The traceability speaks for itself. But what were it? I mean, you've mentioned a couple of times now, but the bad actors, what are they taking advantage of?
Yeah, I think they take advantage of poor regulations in some areas across the globe. Because if you look, for example, at the European Union, they have really strict regulations on any fish that gets landed in EU, that's coming outside of the EU, to make sure that it's fully traceable, it's sustainable, it's child labor free. So they have a lot of regulations around the product that's being shipped to Europe, and also they ask for catch certifications and health certifications and all of that sort of proofs and documents to be able to export. That alone, as a policy and as a regulation through the EU market, makes bad actors cannot really sell into EU because they will not have all the documentation and all the paperwork and all the proofs that the fish is being caught responsibly and it's traceable. In other parts of the world, unfortunately, regulations do vary. So in some areas, we'll find that regulations are not that strict. So bad actors will evolve and will always be playing that part.
They're always looking for the weakest link in that chain.
We've seen it a lot, like big trawlers going around the coast of Africa and just scooping all the fish in the water and leaving nothing to the coastal community that, first of all, depend on the fish as their source of income and as a source of protein. So it really affects like having like minimal regulation and policies around fishing practices really affects the coastal communities that depend on this trade.
I mean, we're wandering right into the policy space. And my question to you is, maybe from the markets you're in, maybe regionally, I mean, we are a MENA-based company. We believe in the region. What do you think, or what do you feel are the critical underlying challenges in this market that need to be addressed?
So obviously, like, we cannot compare the GCC region and the UAE to what's happening in Africa because there are a lot of regulations that are in place. But I think we still lack some sort of regulations around transparency in providing more data on the fish that's being either caught in the Gulf area, in the Gulf, in the Arabian Gulf, or in Gulf of Oman, or in the fish that's being imported to the country. So there is areas where we can improve in terms of getting more data and more information on the fish that we import and the fish that we catch in our seas and oceans.
And if you get let's split that, because one is trade based, one is fishing based in the region. If you're trade, that's essentially at all ports where this fish is being imported, there needs to be some form of regulation. And I know there's inspections and whatnot, but there's also documentation and classification. But at the fishing level here, what in our policies in the region need to change, or what do we need to have established as a sort of fundamental bottom line, call it, for ensuring this kind of data and transparency?
Definitely. I think one of the main things to ensure transparency, especially from the fishing sector, is having a way to validate what's being landed.
Right.
And being able to get information and data from the fishermen while they're doing their activity. I think what needs to be done is having more validation on landing. I know governments here and in the region, they do a lot of work in terms of getting more and more inspectors to inspect the fish, to inspect and take fish stocks. This is where they make decisions as well on banning certain species in certain times. So there's a lot of work that's being done in that space. I think digitizing that work and being able to collect more data from fishermen on their activity, and also being able to validate that, okay, this fish has been landed from this fisherman at this landing port, and give a certificate or give a traceability report to it, is going to help a lot in basically taking out all bad actors in the industry. At the end of the day, when we look at it, the Emirati fisherman today has to compete with people that will be bringing fish from different areas, different parts of the world, and they're both selling it at the market. They're both the same fish. It's hamur. But one have worked and have spent money to catch it, and the other just imported it for cheap, and they're competing. So having that visibility and that sort of trust mark on this is local fish. But basically just distinguishing local fish than other fish will create economical value for the fishermen and will create more trust for the end consumer as well on what they're getting.
So this is in our last episode, part of the discussion we had was on fruit and vegetables. And I see a pattern here where the imports versus local production are at, they're in competition, as you say, but the challenge being there is no way to validate at the consumer level the difference between locally sourced and imported. Sure, we have, place of origin. I think with fish, it's even harder to do. If my memory serves me correctly, at the fishmonger, you can ask where it's from. Isn't always very clear. I don't see flags on the fish counter. But more than that, part of why we talk about radical transparency at SOMA is the importance of the consumer being able to see that sort of supply chain through the product at the point of sale. We always believe that because we don't do any sort of restriction of trade limitations or protectionism, we need to do a better job at promotion and, really raising the bar and quality of signaling this is local and having the pride in that.
In that, definitely.
There's a real need for people to be made aware, whether it's on social media or otherwise, that the food from your neighborhood, the food from your country, from your region is always going to be that much better because it's fresher. It hasn't been through the logistical and cold chain journey. And God forbid there's anybody who's, a bad actor switching fillets out. That you can be sure what you feed your children and your family and yourselves is what it says on the tin, as they used to say. I think I'd like to close out with what's the most exciting thing that you're trying to tackle with Seafood Souq?
So I think for us at Seafood Souq, the main thing that we will be focusing on is serving our region. We started with Souq al-Jubail. We have a pilot now where we're validating every single landing at Souq al-Jubail, and every fish that's being landed at Souq al-Jubail will be distinguished from the other fish, that it's local Sharjah Emirati fishermen caught seafood, which is super exciting for us. I think this is the first step for us in the region where we wanted to deploy our technology more and more. We're already in hotels with all the imported products in the region, but more on the fisheries side of things and more on building technology for the fishermen in the region is going to be our goal for the next years.
Osama, that's amazing. I'm very happy to hear that you guys are doing that at Souq al-Jubail here in Sharjah. I do believe we have the opportunity to demonstrate to the world that the UAE can do things and export that know-how. You are already an international sort of serving company, but having the full model here in the UAE is what we look forward to. Thanks for your time and thanks for being with us today, and look forward to seeing you again soon.
Thank you very much, Sheikh Majid. Thank you.